In the last quarter century, prices paid for art have gone to levels previously unimaginable. These record sale prices reflect the concentration of enormous wealth by the 1%, as well as art status and perception as a top investment vehicle. As you'll see, the year 2015 saw an explosion of art sales at the very top end. Hello and welcome! Today on Living Luxury, we will talk about the top 11 most expensive pieces of art. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do hit that subscribe button and click the notification bell to get the latest updates. Alright, let's get into it. Number 11. 12 Landscape Screens by Chi Baishi, $140.8 million in 2017. Sold at an auction for a staggering amount of $140.8 million, this artwork put Chi Baishi on the list of artists whose works managed to sell over $100 million. Chi, an artist who was born from a poor family, was known for his brush painting and calligraphy and is also the first Chinese to sell his artwork for over $100 million. The art, 12 Landscape Screens, which shows trees, mountains, and even houses, was created in 1925 when the artist was 62 years old. He gifted his artwork to a friend and later it was moved to different private collectors. The bidding for his art started at 450 million won, or roughly $71 million, and all the bidding was conducted over the phone. Number 10. L'Homme Adua by Alberto Giacometti, sold for $141.3 million in 2015. This sculpture stands proud with its head held high. With one arm stretched in front, he points a finger, another arm behind him, as if giving a speech or trying to make a point. Giacometti said he made the sculpture in a single night in 1947. His original plan was to make two fingers to stand side by side, but after the L'Homme was finished, he thought it was impossible to make a new one. Even after revisiting the idea years later and creating a plaster figure to accompany his masterpiece, Giacometti destroyed it and abandoned the idea. The original owners were collectors Dr. Fred and Florence Olsen in 1953, and by 1970 the masterpiece was passed to a new owner who kept it for 45 years. The sculpture was cast in bronze and stands at 5 feet 10 inches and was purchased in 2015 by hedge fund billionaire Stephen Cohen at Christie's for a cool US $141.3 million. Number 9. 3 Studies of Lucian Freud by Francis Bacon, $142.4 million in 2013. Francis Bacon painted the triptych of Lucian Freud in 1969. In the artwork, Freud sits on a wooden chair, his face somewhat distorted and his legs crossed. Bacon's work was influenced by surrealism and his subjects were mostly distorted in his paintings. The two met in the mid-1940s and instantly they connected and a friendship was formed. It was not the typical friendship one would have because the two are said to be each other's critics. Nonetheless, the two spent a lot of time together. Unfortunately, not long after the triptych was completed, the friendship came to an end. Bacon's artwork of his friend was sold at Christie's in 2013 for US $142.4 million. Number 8. New Coche by Amedeo Modigliani, $157.2 million in 2018. According to Sotheby's, New Coche is the largest painting by Modigliani, measuring nearly 58 inches or 147 centimeters across. Of all the horizontal nudes he did produce, this is the only one that shows the entire figure on the canvas. Amedeo Modigliani was deeply influenced by Renaissance art. He began painting and producing works depicting females in the nude in 1908. Between 1916 and 1919, he completed 13 seated nudes and 22 reclining nudes. During his early years, particularly the art exhibition of Parisian dealer Berthe, his art caught the attention of people and they gathered to see his paintings. Across the gallery was a police station and an officer came and asked for the removal of the artworks, which he considered indecent. Years after, New Coche was acquired in 2003 for $26.9 million and then again in 2018 was sold for $157.2 million at Sotheby's in New York. Number 7. La Femme d'Alger by Pablo Picasso, $179.4 million in 2015. Picasso painted the series during 1954-1955, consisting of nearly 100 studies on paper and 14 other paintings. This version O is considered the acknowledged quote-unquote masterpiece among all of these according to Christie's. Picasso was particularly inspired by the work of Eugène Delacroix in 1834, in particular the Femme d'Alger. The 1834 painting showing Algerian concubines in their harem was bought by King Louis Philippe and presented to the Musée de Luxembourg. After Delacroix's death, the painting was moved to the Louvre, and that is where Picasso would visit it. Christie's sold the work in 1997 for $31,902,500 and was previously in the collection of Victor and Sally Gans, and in 2015, the painting was sold again for US $179.4 million, creating a new world record price during that time. Number 6. Wasserschlagen II by Gustav Klimt, $180 million in 2015. Also known as Water Serpents, the Wasserschlagen II is an oil painting by Gustav Klimt. The artwork deals with same-sex relationships and the sensuality of women's bodies. The painting showed a striking image of naked women surrounded by flowers, gold, and stars. It was bought in 2015 by Russian billionaire collector Dmitry Rybolovlev for $180 million. Number 5. Number 17A by Jackson Pollock, $200 million in 2015. Number 17A was painted a year after Jackson Pollock introduced his famous drip technique. According to jacksonpollock.org, quote, "The abundance of paint creates a complex color vortex where the top and bottom layers are impossible to differentiate. Smudges of yellow, blue, and black on the fiberboard help soften the image, while 3 nearly parallel white brushstrokes grab our attention and direct our gaze diagonally up the image." The technique was initially unpopular, and Pollock's drip paintings were met by some public suspicion. Even great artists have their ups and downs. He was a major artist of his generation and a major figure in the abstract expressionist movement. In 2015, the artwork was sold for US $200 million to Kenneth C. Griffin, an American billionaire hedge fund manager. This is not the only artwork of Pollock that was sold for millions, however. Number 4. Nafea Fa Ipoi Ipoi, When Will You Marry by Paul Gauguin, $210 million in 2015. This oil painting is of 2 Tahitian women created in 1892. Gauguin came up with the idea of traveling to Tahiti to paint illustrations for Pierre Loti's The Marriage of Loti, which was the most popular novel at the time. He visited twice. The first was after becoming estranged from his wife. He also hoped to escape European society and see a spiritual, primitive society. But he failed to find what he was looking for because Tahiti was already colonized as early as the 18th century. The artist, whose work was not as popular as some of his contemporaries, faced financial difficulties due to the unpopularity of his work. Sadly, like many artists, he only became recognized after his death. He died at age 54 in 1903 from a morphine overdose. The work was sold in a private sale in 2015 to Qatar museums by a Swiss collector. Although originally reported as a record-breaking $300 million sale, it was later revealed that the price was some $90 million lower. Number 3. The Card Players by Paul Cézanne, $250 million in 2011. The painting shows a group of local farmhands enjoying a game of cards. 3 of them are seen holding cards while the other one stands at a distance observing. This painting is thought to be the earliest painting in a series. Paul Cézanne lived at his father's estate in Aix-en-Provence, where he observed his figures as he studied the landscape and those who worked at the property. The other works in the series share some things, but differences are also visible. In 2011, The Card Players was sold for $250 million in the nation of Qatar. At the time, this record-breaking price more than doubled the previous highest price paid for a work of art. Number 2. Interchange by Willem de Kooning, $300 million in 2015. In 1955, the year de Kooning painted it, an architect bought it for $4,000. Many years later, the $4,000 turned into $20.68 million when Shigeki Kameyama, a wealthy owner of Mountain Tortoise Gallery in Tokyo, bought the interchange. De Kooning was known for violently attacking his canvases, doing his paintings repeatedly, scraping off the paint, then adding more layers. The painting was made during the time the artist was closely working with Franz Klein. The two influence each other's style, and Interchange is an example of the aesthetic shift Kooning experienced in the mid-1950s. In 2015, the 1955 oil canvas painting was sold by the David Geffen Foundation to American investor Kenneth C. Griffin, who paid $300 million for it. Number 1. Salvator Mundi by Leonardo da Vinci, $450 million in 2017. Number 1 on our list of most expensive art is Leonardo da Vinci's Salvator Mundi. The painting took the spot from Willem de Kooning's Interchange, which previously held the record for the most expensive painting. Robert Simon, who has a doctorate in art history from Columbia University with a specialty in the art of the Renaissance, knew that the original Salvator Mundi, which was created back in the 1500s, had been one of Leonardo da Vinci's most copied works. Replicas of the art were seen in museums, but the original was thought to be lost. After it was rediscovered and restored, it was bought at an auction for US $450 million on November 2017 by a Saudi prince. If you were a billionaire, which of these artworks would you spend your money on? Tell us in the comments below, and please don't forget to press like, share, and subscribe to get the latest on all things luxury. That's it for today, and thank you for watching.